thank you very much for joining this conversation. I want to start off the conversation with learning more about yourself, your role within the university, and more about degree apprenticeships within the university.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for inviting me along to speak to you. It's a pleasure. So my role at the university, I'm Director of Education for Degree Apprenticeships within our business school. And the business school has been working with degree apprenticeships for a number of years now, I think 5 years now. And really we got into that space because we've got such a successful history in finance and economics and business management within the business school that when degree apprenticeships came along, it seemed like, I think, a natural development for us to get involved in that space. And certainly the senior leader programme really opened up a new world, I think, to the university in terms of working with a huge range of organisations and the senior people within those organisations, and really seeing what we could do in that space. The impact and the interest from all of those organisations in degree apprenticeships has been huge. So it's been a really exciting few years, I think, for the university. It's obviously a really new area. It's been a massive learning curve. It's not always been without its challenges, as you can imagine, but I think, you know, everybody has really seen the value. Our Pro Vice Chancellor is hugely excited by what degree apprenticeships bring to the university in terms of the sort of range of organisations that we're now working with, the level that we're working with them at, the opportunities to really collaborate with a new set of people and different expectations, and it's just opened up a new world, really. I personally have worked in further education before I started at Exeter, so I've worked in apprenticeships for 10 years or so, but working in degree apprenticeships at the university has been has really changed my perceptions on where a university sits in this space and what we can do to support the local economy, the local businesses, and how we can really get involved in that way.
I mean, you sort of nicely alluded to perceptions. I mean, how has degree apprenticeships under higher education institutions changed the perception around what apprenticeships can offer and the opportunities available through apprenticeships, particularly as you're in a business school environment where we think of MBAs and we think of sort of 1 year, 2 year degrees?
Yeah, I think it's been a huge shift in perceptions, both from the university's perspective, but also externally from FE's perspective, further education's perspective, in terms of universities coming into this space, and also from employers and really what apprenticeships can do. I think there has been obviously traditionally a perception around apprenticeships being for lower skilled people, moving them up through the sort of start of their careers, and that has shifted over time. But then when degree apprenticeships came in, obviously that was a massive change, and really we've been looking at people a lot more in their sort of middle of their careers, or, as I said before, with the senior leader programme, potentially in senior positions within organisations. And so it has absolutely shifted perception, because people now see apprenticeships as a way of developing, innovating, collaborating, and really, you know, people that have been in organisations for 5 years plus suddenly seeing things from different perspectives, actually looking at the same issues, challenges, worries, but from a different angle, and being able to flip that and really find solutions and move things forward. And also, I think, where we bring different organisations into the same space so that they can then collaborate between organisations, or actually just see things from different perspectives, if they're in a public organisation or if they're in a private organisation, actually getting to grips with the challenges that either face, I think has been really revolutionary, almost, you know, within those people's working lives, to actually see things from outside has been really, really interesting for them.
Do you think that there was an opportunity for all degrees to eventually become an apprenticeship, or do you feel as though it works for some and not for all?
Yeah, I think there are definitely some where it fits and some where it it would be a difficult proposition, I think. There needs to be that practical application. I think that is the core strength of a degree apprenticeship, isn't it? That you can take the learning that you're taking from the degree and really make sure that you are having that impact directly within your organisation by applying that in and seeing where it fits, where it doesn't fit, where you've learned something, where you can, you know, transform or innovate within your organisation because of that. And I think it's that application of the learning that is so unique to apprenticeships, and that, you know, is the real strength of apprenticeships. So I don't think that fits with all degrees. I think there are degrees that are obviously much more about the learning process, much more about the theory, and whereas I think apprenticeships, you know, really blend that theory and that practical application beautifully to really, yeah, move businesses forward.
And importantly as well, I think the messaging has changed as well, if I'm correct, because with higher education institutions, you've got the messaging isn't necessarily for 16-year-olds who, you know, you learn and earn it. This is more about the upskill side and the development side.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think, I mean, we do still have some programs that are for school leavers. So we are still working with some organisations where they're bringing talent through from their initial position within the organisation. But yeah, a lot more of our programmes are aimed at those who, as I say, are mid-career or later in their career. They're returning to education, and, you know, it's really about that brand new opportunity for them to learn new things, to learn that theory that's underpinned probably the decisions they've been making. They didn't know why they were making them, and all those sorts of things, really, and move that forward. And in a lot of cases, I think it's where we can really instill that confidence in employees who have been in the role maybe for a few years but haven't progressed or haven't found their pathway through that organisation for whatever reasons. And I think, you know, coming on to a degree apprenticeship can really give that foundation of knowledge that then gives them the confidence to apply for those promotions and that progression, so that they can move on and yeah, have that greater impact for themselves and for their employer.
And progression, as you sort of alluded to, progression is quite important for social mobility. What are your thoughts on the role of apprenticeships being for addressing sort of underrepresentation and social mobility?
I think it can have a massive impact. I think we are working with a number of organisations where they are using apprenticeships really to identify that talent that perhaps haven't found a pathway previously or have faced challenges, obstacles previously to progression. And by giving them the opportunity on an apprenticeship, actually what that does is it forges that pathway for them. It removes some of those obstacles, but also it just makes them feel like actually they are valued and they are being invested in, and there are expectations, you know, around them being able to progress and having those opportunities. So I think it has a huge impact in that way. I think social mobility for me is one of the key drivers for me being involved in apprenticeships. It is about actually people that never thought degrees were for them, people that never thought higher education was for them. You know, especially being at Exeter, there is that sort of aura of elitism almost around the university, and actually we're breaking that down a little bit. You know, it's still a fantastic institution, but actually it is more accessible, and I think degree apprenticeships are playing a big role in making it more accessible. And so we are bringing people through that, as I said, didn't think that this was going to be a pathway that was ever open to them. I had a chartered manager degree apprenticeship last year, who he left school at 16 with very few qualifications. He was mid-career. He kind of thought he'd hit his ceiling. He thought that was it. He didn't think, you know, he'd ever take on a degree. And he came onto our programme, and we just saw a huge change in him throughout the duration of the programme, in terms of his confidence, in terms of his self-belief, and in terms of what he was doing back in his organisation. And his workplace mentor, his line manager, just was blown away with, you know, the way that he was now. He'd always knew he had that potential, but couldn't quite unlock it, and the apprenticeship was the key to that. And he is now flying in his organization, and it's not just because of the apprenticeship, but I think it is that suddenly believing that this is a path that is right for you, and you do have that right to take it and grab it and to run with it, really. So seeing that for me is absolutely why I love being involved in apprenticeships. I think we can really enable people to move through their careers in a way that perhaps hasn't been available before.
Yeah, and you're right in the sense that it's a very good means of nurturing potential, to kind of move an individual from one phase in their life to another phase in their life, which not only empowers them, but it empowers the organization, empowers the institution that's teaching them, and wider society as well. It empowers wider society as well. Talking about powers and empowers, superpowers. So if you had superpowers, and this is probably my final question to yourself,
Okay.
if you had superpowers, what 3 things would you do to reform apprenticeships?
Okay, I do wish I had superpowers, but if I could change apprenticeships, I mean, for me they are a
3
brilliant
things.
vehicle.
3
Yeah,
things.
brilliant vehicle. I'll try and limit it to 3 things. So the first thing for me, I think, would be functional skills. I just think there is reform needed around functional skills, and I know that's sort of an aside for a lot of people in apprenticeships. It's not the main part of an apprenticeship, but for me, it just creates barriers and obstacles for people that I just wish we could remove those or find a way through those. So especially, you know, like we were talking about, people who perhaps are using this as a way of progressing their careers. So they're doing brilliantly in their jobs, they're doing fantastically on their degree program, and then they've got this huge hang up or baggage around maths, for example, which is quite common. And so then we have to get them to sit a maths exam. And I just think that is, it really brings down the tone, you know. I think if we could find another way of nurturing their maths ability rather than just sitting an exam, and we do some work with them to prepare them for that. But yeah, I think that is something that I think we could definitely reform and improve. You know, people spend 11 years in school, don't they, studying maths and don't get a GCSE, and we're trying to suddenly turn all of that around but still get them to sit another exam. It's
2 more to go.
Okay, so the second one for me, I think, would be if we could streamline the number of regulatory bodies that are involved in apprenticeships, that would be amazing. I just think I always when I worked with apprenticeships previously, obviously I'm very familiar with Ofsted, I'm very familiar with the Education Skills Funding Agency, so I understood that. But now in degree apprenticeships, we've also got Ofqual involved, and we've also got the Office for Students involved, and you know, trying to make sure that we're doing everything that each of those regulatory bodies requires. It's a huge amount of energy that I'd much rather we were spending on the apprentices and their experience. I'd much rather we diverted it that way. So if we could streamline that, that would be my second one. One more?
Yeah, one more, yeah.
Okay. So the last one for me would be to extend apprenticeships outside of England, because I have we work with organisations that are multinationals, but also some that are just across the UK, and it would be great to be able to provide the parity of experience to people who are based in Wales, Northern Ireland or Scotland that their English counterparts are able to access here. So yeah, I think if we could extend that, that would be brilliant.
That's a very good one. Sarah, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Isa. It's been a pleasure. It's been great talking to you.